Hey, what's going on? It's Rafael Hoffman. Today I want to get into what is enlightenment. I go through this every few months here and there, but people often have a difficult time explaining it. I'll just go straight into it, talk about it. They often have a difficult time understanding it and describing it, or can never truly say it. So I'm just going to go ahead and say it straight out. It's basically you as an undefined observer. That's enlightenment. Realizing that you are an undefined observer, the watcher, and then you kind of come into your body and you pretend or you take things seriously. And each person's own unique experiences are based upon taking on how seriously you take it or in what way. Enlightenment is realizing that, and with that knowledge, being able to step outside that framework. Enlightenment is knowing that you are not your emotions, that the good times and the bad times are run by your own psyche somehow, or by a system or systems that you're a part of. Enlightenment is knowing that there is no search for enlightenment, or that your sense of I is the very construct that creates the game you see. It's realizing that if everyone didn't take the game seriously, you wouldn't take it seriously either. Enlightenment is realizing that there are underlying leanings, even for things you dread and hate, like chaos, anger, sinister intent. It's realizing that you are an intertwined system of good and evil. You realize that the nature of evil is societally based. Enlightenment is realizing that by searching for the I, trying to discover, where is my sense of I? You are searching for a fantasy. And it's a construct that you made up. And it's nothing but energy that gets stored in the psyche and or body. Enlightenment is realizing that the energy centers are actually a real thing, or in the very least, the muscle tissue itself stores trauma and memory. Something which is not who you are, and can be dealt with in an infinite number of ways. And hence all spiritual practices, coping with these healing methods, they are coping with these healing methods, but without directly saying it's for healing. Enlightenment is realizing that there is a process towards development, and that the goal, the God, is too strong for us. The goal to understand God is too strong for us. That by chasing a specific outcome, you are going against a plan that has already been fixated by deep unconscious mechanisms. That when you're trying to force something that is just not in your ability to do, you're actually trying to do the impossible. You're trying to lift a brick up a hill that is never ending. That's basically the kinds of epiphanies you have. And these are unconscious mechanisms you're not aware of. Long before you even got to that moment, there was a plan for you to get to that moment. So every moment is kind of not you doing it, you were planned there, you were kind of pushed there. People adopt different philosophies depending on their states, depending on their moods. You don't have to adopt this approach, but generally, from my personal experience, what I've seen, enlightenment is realizing that you don't need to do that. You don't need to act as if you have free will. You can just accept that you're just here for no reason at all. Okay. That there may be some kind of archetypal phenomenon of coalescing forces or polarities trying to enact their will through you, and that you are just caught up in the middle of all that, leading to your perceived strangeness or biological abnormalities. Enlightenment is realizing everyone has an agenda, all coming from the devil, but it's I'm actually going to re-explain that in a second. But each person is the devil, and each person's devil is different, and each person is a slave to being unconscious, not realizing they are the devil, but calling themselves good, because the superego or collective devil cannot navigate believing it should not be around people. It's realizing that we are all selfish and are all the devil, but with that very notion, it nullifies the concept of the devil as selfish, and it makes everyone simply on a journey, but one that is neither selfish or selfless. It just is. You realize that paradox and randomness of traversing this journey is present, and you have an understanding that there is a reason, yet there is no reason for why you are here. You understand that both angles are true, both are meaningful, both are present. Both angles are there. You realize you are creating all the explanations. You realize the mind is causing you to always have to have an explanation for things. That it's impossible to entirely defeat this phenomenon if you want to be a human being. But you also realize collective groups can literally change paradigms, and hence reality. So there's a little more complexity here than you originally saw. But you may realize that reality will never fully be seen as unscientific. There may always be a cause, because that's how the human ego bases its construct for reality. Now, I can't say this could be true for all time, not reading off the thing, but it's certainly a possibility. I know for myself, I realize that God is not something you see. I realize that to conceive of what God is will actually cause palpitations. Since there's no one thing to calculate, God is way too vast to calculate. Until the epiphany happens that the ego traverses bodies and is the trauma energy preventing you from being at peace. I realized that to conceive of God would cause palpitations. And I realized that there's a traversing of energies that I've seen personally, preventing me from peace. So this is my personal experience, but I've seen it happen. Sober and not sober alike, via psychedelics and not, when I was not on psychedelics. Enlightenment is realizing the ego is playing mind games to stop you from enjoying this very moment. It's realizing in that instant, for one reason or another, that you should be present and all else is a distraction to that very energy that seems to be alive. Meaning, you're constantly being distracted from realizing that there is this energy inside of you. And I've actually felt it on psychedelics moving around my body, and other people have confirmed that to be a reality. That this happens, that the trauma energy actually stores and moves around. And that energy will keep bringing up your traumas as a means and method to accomplish this. You might realize that your breath is what counteracts the ego and helps the body get present. Relaxes the muscles and moderates the trauma. You might realize that baggage transfers through people, and that your most undesirable thing is the fact that the trauma exists altogether. You might discover that there is no person you can experience at the same time as experiencing yourself, but simultaneously realize they are you in a parallel dimension that forms this 3D world of ours. Enlightenment is not believing that you are experiencing them right now per se, but that God is experiencing all simultaneously. You may realize that the ego's construct of reality is such that you as an individual are somehow other people in your present, revealing a notion of strange loop that can help you get a better take on how reality is operating. Although not fully true, you will see why trying to discover the reason for the concept of strange loop in regard to you being other people, after you die, you become them, that idea may not be fully true. You will see why trying to discover the reasons for things is futile. As the very one who observes, meaning the concept of strange loop is what helps you reach this conclusion. As the one who observes is the cause for its creation. The one who discovers, not knowing what the truth was initially, was the very creator of the concept via unconscious mechanisms and thought processes, ones that touch upon a web of psyche's assumptions of reality through time and space. You might become befuddled by math, for example, not knowing what to make of it. Is math just one language, or an objective phenomenon that creates the very fabric of existence? You will start to see paradoxes, and that cannot be resolved, because the truth cannot be resolved. Because the very ones who have a language are using language to evaluate whether or not we need to use language. Self-referencing makes everything impossible to calculate as having a root cause. Enlightenment might entail people around you feeling extreme anxiety as you deal with your baggage, and the baggage itself, something inherent to a collective unconscious struggling to keep itself alive. And you, are in a perpetual state of baggage, or what I like to call baggage loop. That's my nickname for it. You realize the ego supplies loops and can live on loop and in loop, and its main way to exist is through loops. A healthy person will take in oxygenated blood and then keeps refilling in a nice, healthy flow and fluctuation of patterns. The ego takes in good memories, or it takes good memories and it tries to fill the good memories with damper memories or damper opinions or damper interpretations. It supplies dampers to all things in your field of awareness. You might realize that anxiety disorders are just improper or unfortunate ways this energy may have been led to have a handle or influence on a specific body. You realize there is truth to the religions and their methods as a result, and you may be conflicted on how to approach something like spiritual possessions and religious dogmas, since they're not inherently wrong, but there's more to it. The show Evil, for example, portrays this pretty well, and the scientific world and the classical spirituality overlap in that show, and they harmonize with each other at the same time. But that makes superstition logical, but at the same time overly simplistic to the enlightened person. You may start to see archetypes coming out as described by Carl Jung. You might start to notice, as many other psychologists have, that there are underlying spiritual entities with origins that could lead to varying belief systems about reality. You might conclude one or more of those beliefs, refining them as you see the spirits coming out of varying bodies. Some enlightened people choose to say this is all Maya, all illusion. But others will choose not to neglect the details of what they see, and one interested in the unconscious, who tries to understand the underlying spirit holistically, will more often than not say they are archetypes representing the unconscious mind. It requires noticing in order to know what all mankind really needs, or to explain why society is the way it is, and to better know what to expect in the future, and how to consciously progress the masses in whatever way is needed. So that covers my description of what enlightenment is. The epiphanies you will probably see, you very well might see, and some of which you might already been noticing. And I hope you enjoyed. Click the like button. Take care. All the best. Have a great day.